Join us in the Palm community.
You guys remember when this came out? Like the sexiest phone ever. Like we lived in the future.
Hello, Moto.
This is how you turn it on. This is your music. This is your email. This is the web. And this is a call on your iPhone.
Does your phone do searches? Does your phone do searches, for example, the word human? Does your phone do searches for human on the web? Then Google Maps for places named human? Your contacts for any friends named human, which would be weird if you had one. Even your music for songs you forgot you downloaded? Droid does. Search all digital creation. In a world of doesn't, Droid does.
Back in 56 pass, I wasn't prepared to translate that, as I was doing that little tease.
Oh, that's
that little
right.
mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At?
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard it.
Around
I'd never heard it
about.
said. I'd always seen the
Right.
mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
I heard the around or about in the lunchroom.
See, there it is. Violence at NBC. GE.com. I mean,
Well, Allison should know. What do you
is
say to that,
internet
Allison?
anyway?
Internet is that massive computer
Right.
network, the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big. How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate with. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
No, she can't say anything in 10 seconds or less.
Oh, Allison will be in the studio shortly.
What is
What
it?
does it mean?
It's a giant computer network made up of started from.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us what this was.
It's like a
Look at the
computer
dictionary.
billboard.
It's not it's a computer billboard, but it's
Right.
nationwide. It's several universities and everything all joined together.
Right,
And others can access it.
right.
And it's getting bigger and bigger all the time.
It
Just
came
great.
in really handy during the quake. A lot of people, that's how they were communicating out to tell family and loved ones they were okay because all the phone lines were down.
I was telling Katie and
But you don't need that. You don't need a phone line to operate internet. No, apparently not.
So,
To get on the internet. All right, so if you showed up late, you missed some really horrible commercials that, who remembers those commercials with a 3-pound phone and things like that? I want you to keep that in mind. There's a lot of stuff I'm gonna try to talk about. If we have time, I want to demo these things, so if you can now, I'll shoot a flare throughout the talk. But let's download the Republic app. So it's bit.ly/republic-iOS for the iOS, bit.ly/republic-android for the Android version of that app. These two are, just do archive, and that's only for iOS. We'll skip the other stuff. I have videos if it doesn't work out, but this one's kind of big, so it may or may not work out. I have some videos just in case. So let's get started. Thank you for somehow not going to Amy's thing and coming to me. I heard you scheduled at the same time. Now some people are going to leave. Okay. This is awkwardly named Fashion Forward for some reason. So I'm not going to pretend that's part of the title. And what we're going to talk about today is wearables, AR, augmented reality, and journalism. I am Robert Hernandez. I'm a digital journalism professor at USC Annenberg. I've been there for 5 years. I'm known on the Twitters as web journalist. I'm co-creator of WJ Chat. I'm on the board of ONA. And who has voted? 3 people give a shit. That's actually my campaign, give a shit. Nothing. Get off of that thing and go do something for ONA. At least go vote, please. Make this organization better by participating, and at least vote. You pay to be a member, participate. I'm running for re-election, by the way. But you don't have to vote for me. I have glass, but I'm not a glass hole. And we can debate that if you would like. And what I do with journalism, essentially, I hack and experiment. I hijack technology for journalism. A bunch of little things that I've been playing with. So that's a little bit about me. Let's do some participation stuff. Someone yell out the years, guess how many years it took for radio to hit 50 million users. Yell, numbers. How many? 50 years? Who else? There's going to be a lot of participation. 25. 75. 38. Took 38 years. How about for TV to hit 50 million? 20? 21? $1? 14 years. The internet? 3? 4 years. The iPod, which we saw earlier, the first iPod, how long did it take to get 50 mil? How much? 6 months, a year, 3 years. Facebook. They hit 100 million in 9 months. iPhone apps being downloaded. These are all trick questions if you're noticing the pattern. 1 billion downloads in 9 months. So this is why we need to care about nerding out about this technology that we think is over there. It's really here, and it's coming here faster, right? I played the commercials at the very beginning. We laughed at the idea of these phones, these huge phones, the pager. When I grew up in SoCal, if you had a pager, you were a drug dealer, right? Oh, I'm never going to have a cell phone. I'm not going to be a yuppie. We all even, who laughed at the idea when they announced that they put a phone on a camera and thought, who's ever going to use that? Technology evolves, and we need to evolve with it, but more proactively, journalists need to. So let's talk about how we got there in terms of the evolution of technology using a clock, right? Big Ben, Town Hall, parts got smaller. So they moved it to the dining room, eventually to your mantle, and then onto your body, right? So smaller, cheaper, more functions, and eventually more intimate. This is technology. This is a trend of technology. We saw this with computers. We had a computer that took up an entire room. Then I just picked the Apple one. Yeah, I prefer Apple over Android. The Mac, I had that Mac, and now this supercomputer in your back pocket or in your purse, right? Smaller, cheaper, more functions. So I wanted to play, people ask me if, is Google Glass a Segway? Remember the Segway technology that claimed to be as big as the internet, which no one remembers now? People try to say like, wow, but are you a glass hole if you wear, glass? And I found this video tweeted a long time ago, and I want to play it for you guys. So let's go back in a time machine to Canada in the 80s.
The new Webster's Dictionary defines automobile as a vehicle propelled by a self-contained engine and designed to run on ordinary roads. In other words, just a simple method of transportation. But nowadays, it's also a place to conduct business, because in the 80s, the yuppie years, We now have the cellular car phone.
Now, two things there I want you to take note. One, you should never start any journalistic story with the definition of a word. Webster's dictionary says you probably need a better lead. Second, he said car phones and the yuppies in the 80s with disdain. Anyone remember the 80s? The disdain we had for yuppies? Take out car phones, put in glass or wearables. Take out yuppies, put in glass hole. The narrative is the same. So we interviewed an expert.
And the market for cellular phones can only get bigger.
First of all, we see it in miniaturization of telephones. We see the sizes of a portable phone that are smaller and smaller, and the battery life, of course, is going to be longer. So therefore, we're going to see more and more people carrying their phone on a permanent basis. Now, it's not very, very far away also when we're going to see some, what we call a Buck Rogers telephone, the wristwatch telephone. Now, this is coming, and in about 10 years from now, we'll see that very frequently. So the cellular telephone will become like a permanent telephone that you'll be carrying with you all the time.
So he was a little bit off with the timeline. That was 80s, so 90s. Cell phones started to pop up, right? But the Buck Rogers telephone, where? Where did he say it was going to be? On your wrist, right? So we've been talking about this for a while, and then the last segment.
But what about the yuppie status symbol of having a car phone? How has that affected sales?
It has definitely been for some people a status symbol, but this is what we call the early adapter. The people that are interested right at the beginning with the new technology and whatever the cost is, they're going to try it for a status symbol. But you see the installation that we're doing right now, and you really see that this has passed a long time ago. And now people are using it because they really need it.
At Auto Audio, where a lot of their clientele can be considered yuppies, we asked them about their client profile.
The customer profile has changed actually dramatically in the last 6 or 8 months. Initially, it was strictly the business guy, and now the business guy's wife wants a phone too because she's had a chance to use his car and realize
Actually, I'd call him an asshole. He doesn't need glass.
Now we're finding the same guy has 1, 2, 3 phones in the same family, just as in your home. Initially, you had a phone on the kitchen wall. That was it. And now many bathrooms have phones in them.
Is this a truly yuppie experience?
There's times I'm in my BMW and cruising along the road, and I feel like I've died and gone to heaven. You know, it's life is a bowl of cherries. I don't care what anybody says.
Life is
Car phones, however, can be expensive.
How much?
To buy, they can start somewhere around $2,000. To lease, you're talking about $80 per month. And there is the per minute charge to use it. If you need one for business, that's fine, and they are practical. But what if you're a status-seeking pseudo-yuppie who can't afford it? Then what do you do?
Well, we have instant status for 1995. You look at the cars on the road and you see a guy driving along, he's got an antenna on the rear window, you know this man has made it. So what we have is we have just the antenna. You can attach the antenna to the rear window, and for all the work...
Do you guys remember that antenna? And how much hate you had for them? Yuppies, glass holes, car phones, glass or wearables. The narrative is the same, right? So we see these. Anyone remember the Zach Morris phone? Gordon Gekko? Same narrative. Those rich people, those people at Wall Street. But if the reporting, although horrible lead, was still accurate, right? It was early adopters. These early adopters took one for the team, whether you like it or not, and then eventually trickled down as it got smaller, faster, cheaper, more accessible for all of us. How much was the cell phone? $2,000. This is $1,500, and it's a supercomputer, right? Google Glass. That thing weighed, I don't know how many pounds, but it's the same narrative over and over again, right? So the thing to remember, the thing to take away is that technology is evolving, and whatever we think about this is not the final form, right? This is also, if we look at the narrative of how technology evolves and the timeline for adopting technology, we know that things smaller than your phone are going to get more intimate, aka wearables are essentially inevitable, right? So there's this stat. 91% of Americans say that they have their phone within reach 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I think it's higher than 91%. Who here, raise your hand if the cell phone is the first thing you look at when you wake up? If you didn't raise your hand, it's because you're not paying attention. Raise your hand if it's the last thing you look at before you go to sleep. Come on, John. Really? You found life-work balance? Good for you, liar. I also want, I'm going to say this, and it's kind of gross, because we all said we wouldn't do this. You don't have to answer this question, but when you bought your first cell phone, your smartphone, you said you were not going to use it while you were sitting on the toilet. Keep that in mind when you borrow someone's phone. So clearly, this device, the mobile phone, is the most widely adopted digital device that it knows us better, and it's really intimate, and it's with us all the time. Who has more than one phone? Who's got 2 phones? 2 phones? Anyone have 3 phones? Will, how many phones do you have? 2? So it's becoming more and more different personalities, things like that, right? The mobile reality is that it's with us at all times. That helps us do our journalism. This is a photo that someone posted on Facebook during the Boston bombing. Then the FBI said, hey, everyone, we know you took pictures. Can you review your photos? See if you find the suspect. He found the suspect, right? Very powerful. Mobile was in his pocket, in his hands, as it was for this woman where she was fleeing a bombing, right? It's with us all the time. The UN has a stat that says more people have access to mobile phones than they have access to a working toilet around the world, right? There are more cell phones than there are toothbrushes around the world. Whether you like it or not, it's a reality. But this mobile reality is evolving. And it actually started in the 80s, the yuppie years, with this guy, Steve Mann from MIT. I'm going to put this picture so it doesn't creep you out too much. He has been doing hardware hacking since the 80s. He's known as the father of wearables, wearable computing. And this last picture is what he calls Glass version 5. It's bolted onto his head. The screen is directly over his eye. He made news a year or 2 ago because he was in a McDonald's in Paris, and they tried to take it off him, and he's like, no, you can't. It's bolted to my head. They wanted to kick him out of the McDonald's. Does anyone know that story? Who knew that story? Why were they trying to kick him out? Privacy, right? One of the things we got to think about. But this is also one of the best punk bands we never heard of. The crew that had done in the early 90s started to do wearable computings in earnest, right? So we see that this has been a slow but a constant evolution. We see that with going from the living room to a desktop, to your laptop, to your pocket or purse, and now, whether we like it or not, to your face or your wrist. That evolution, like that clock, it's getting more intimate, right? And people ask, well, what is the ROI? Why in God's name would I want this device? 2 things to remember. We all said, why would I want a camera on my phone, right? There's the same people who said, why would I want to tweet 140 characters? Same people who said, why would I want a blog? I don't care about them. Same people who said, that internet is not going to last. So it's an evolutionary thing. But if we look at something really simple, you have to take your phone out of your pocket. I can have glass on my face, and I can, within seconds, be a total D-bag and wink to take a picture. Hit the button to take a picture, or say, okay, glass, take a photo. I would do it, but my cell phone died. Well, actually, I did it, but I can't tweet it out. Because after I say, okay, glass, take a picture, I can say, okay, glass, share with Twitter. You just unlocked your phone while I already published that, right? That speed is great. Yay, more pictures of lunch. But the other thing is, which is really powerful, if you haven't tried glass at the Midway, go try it out. You'll do the selfie. Everyone does, no judgment. But try it out and go, okay, glass, Google, how do you say hello in Italian? How do you say hello in Mandarin, right? It's going to get that answer, give it back, and it's going to tell you how to pronounce it. It's going to say it in your ear. It's going to say Google is good, and then it's going to give you the answer. So it has access to knowledge much faster than your phone. Even though you think we're like this with our phone, this is the next step, right? We saw it with a Kickstarter fund of a Pebble. Who owns a Pebble? Anyone? How much do you hate your Pebble? You're still dealing with the issues. Really? All right. We all lie to ourselves sometimes. It's okay. A lot of Pebble folks that I know, the developers, are like, all they're innovating now is colors. But there's a new one out. No, not the Apple one. That's the next slide. But the Moto 360, I have the LG Gear 2 Android Wear. I look at the wrist form factor as the transitionary wearable before we get over the awkwardness of putting it on our faces or whatever it's next. But this is a good transitionary, kind of a socially acceptable type of way of engaging with wearables. Who has a wearable watch? Anyone? No one? One person? Two people? No? So that's later. But there's also the Apple Watch. Who wants to get one of those? Really? Okay, I'm an Apple person. This is ugly to me. See that right there? That's version 2.0 of the click wheel. That's the thing on the original iPod. That was. It looks, I haven't played with it. We won't play with it till what year? Next year? But the form factor, I think they got it wrong. A lot of folks in the wearable community have been kind of talking about that. Check it out, but I would consider the Moto 360, although just like you, my life in it is in iOS. The form factor, it's a bubble on your wrist. The others are fit on your wrist better, right? What watch you know has that kind of factor, that it sticks out? You're going to bump into things. Yeah, you'll see, but you'll see the other ones. The other thing is also the click wheel. We evolved away from it, but we'll see what happens. I haven't played with it, so I can't decide in earnest, but I like the other design better. But there are more than just those that we talked about. This is actually a slide before the Apple Watch came out, so that's a fake prototype there. But who has a wearable with them? A Fitbit? Raise your hand if you have a Fitbit or a Nike Fuel Band, right? This is our reality. I have the Misfit. Anyone have the Misfit? I have that one. You have that one. Yay, we're Misfits. So wearables are a thing. It's a reality. It's inevitable, right? You could debate if pacemakers are wearables. But these are devices that are with us all the time. And actually, the way we break down wearables, according to a colleague, Mike Billinghurst, great guy, is that it falls into 6 categories, 6 things. Hands-on, hands-free, always on, environment aware, meaning it knows where it is. It knows whether you like it or not, where you are, GPS-wise, and even where your face is pointed at. It's always connected, either through data, Wi-Fi, 3G. It gets your attention, but in non-distracting ways, and the most important for us is that you can develop on those platforms, right? I can't develop on the Fitbit unless I truly hack it. But that's what's great about Glass and the others, and eventually the Apple Watch, right? So I'm at USC, and I have a class called the Glass Journalism class, and we've been hacking Google Glass. Not that one. Not that one either, I'm sorry. Not that one either. That one. So at USC, we have Glass, and we're looking at how we can use and look at this form factor to decide what is the next form of journalism. We want to not react to the disruption, but lead the disruption. And we're seeing Glass journalism pop up in places. Tim Pool, of course, is the go-to example where he hooked up Glass to an external battery. He embraced the dorkiness by having that stick out there. But who's played with Glass before? We know, for those who have worn Glass, if you have video going for a while, it starts to burn. So it's not there yet. It's still in beta. That's why they're not pushing it out there. But that's one of the drawbacks, battery life. You have to wear that. You have to be a dork. But there are other examples, right? So this is from The Verge.
And on the knees, feeling for your love, if you know what I mean, boy.
If you hadn't heard about this story, what they did was they gave him NBA draft rookie Glass to wear a day before he got drafted. Who thinks they're going to get drafted for the NBA? Who's ever going to have that experience? You? I believe you will. I believe you will. I'm not. So this is a really great way to kind of go through that experience, POV storytelling, right? there's a lot of examples of glass journalism that are out there. NBC News, there's a White House correspondent, part of the press corps who has it, and he did 24 hours of being a press corps through glass. When I got it a year ago, has anyone seen this video of my kid? Okay, if you saw it, don't judge me. I have a cute kid. I have to show him off. I saw my kid playing, and as a dad, you see that, right? Wow, look at his little chubby arms playing with a thing. So I put glass on him, don't judge me, and he started to play with it. And no matter what happens, no matter if I take pictures, I could not capture that experience. A 4-year-old playing, making plane sounds. That's what glass can do. That's what wearables can do. But not every journalism story, he almost crashes there. Not every story should be told with a POV. That's almost a gimmick after a while. So we're still trying to figure that out. And this is my glass class. A third of us are journalists, a third of us are developers, a third of us are misfits, which are PR, web dev, AR, UX, UI, 3D designer there. And we're doing essentially a 15-week hackathon. This is our pitches. We had a meetup where we pitched our ideas. There was a Japanese documentary crew there for some reason. But we've outlined 3 projects that we're doing for a glass app for journalism. I'm going to undersell it so I can over-deliver. But essentially, one of the challenges with glass is that, great, it's hands-free, and you can add information to it, right? You can dictate, okay, glass, add a caption. And it's about 90% accurate, and I'm being generous, but it's pretty good. But that 10%, I'll give you 2 examples. I don't know what I said, but it wanted to tweet out my sister's pee. It said the word my sister's pee. I'm like, no, 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 no. A student was trying it out and was texting her husband, and it was about to text her husband, I'm going to do the other guy. No, no, no. So sister's pee or do the other guy would not be accurate journalism. So we're creating a CMS system that allows you to collect string, that's what I call it, that it puts a draft, and then you can go in and edit it and then push it out through glass. We're also going to use that so you can use the CMS as a desktop to tell stories using the glass cards. So outside of that, we have some other tricks up our sleeves. But one thing I wanted to test right away was this thing. Has anyone seen this before? Raise your hand if you've seen it. Okay. So this is called Spritz. And the moment I saw this, I said I wanted to put this on glass. Here's what you're going to do. See that line right there? You're going to keep an eye on it. This is meant for small screens. Ready? Keep an eye on it. Here we go. You are reading 500 words a minute. Did you read it, or you downloaded it? Anyone have like their nose start to bleed or anything like that? That's actually what I want a user test. If my eye starts bleeding and I pass out, that means it's not good for long-form journalism. But I do want to test that out. That's what we're looking at. I did a hack, and of course, glass overheated. It's a limited device, but what we're trying to do is be proactive about this disruption. We need to find out what that is, right? But I'm a journalist, and as my shirt is with this logo, content is king. And I want people to remember, I'm sure you came here because of shiny new technology, but remember what we are. We're journalists. It's not the device. It's the content. It's actually the content optimized for the device. And that's what we're trying to figure out. We were slow for mobile. Will Sullivan has been preaching mobile for like more than 6 years. And now it's kind of coming around, finally. Before that, social media, or around that time. Social media, we should do it. Yeah, we'll get to it, right? So I'm trying for us to be proactive when it comes to this new form factor. Because it's a new form factor, these are the specs for the glass screen. Glass is not immersive. Glass is a screen, so that is total, including the padding, is 640 by 360. Anyone remember their first computer monitor resolution? 640 by 480, right? And you accidentally plug into one of these displays and it changes to that. That's how small it is. It is a fraction of your desktop. And that's what we have to now figure out. How do we determine a story for that? What's the shape of an article? What's a video story in glass? What's long form in glass? That's what we're trying to proactively do. And when I give this talk, I want people to start proactively thinking about that. Because while you think it's the future, or you don't want to be a glass hole, or you would never take pictures with your phone of your lunch, it's inevitable. And I'm not trying to be like Star Trek, resistance is futile. It's just evolution. And we need to not fight this like we've done previous technological advances. We need to be ahead of it, right? So one thing that I've also been studying is augmented reality. Does anyone know AR? So AR is real life enhanced by digital. Again, if we have time, we'll demo this stuff, but go ahead and download those apps. So AR means different things to different people. This, for example, is something through Connect. Someone hacked a Connect so they can virtually try on clothes or clip art as clothes. Who would do that? You would? It doesn't make sense. How would it hang on you? Nancy. So that's not what I'm interested when it comes to AR. Also, for some reason, beef jerky got into the AR game with Sasquatch. You printed out this QR code without downloading any software. You put it onto your laptop webcam, and Sasquatch would show up, and you can make him do stuff, right? Pretty cool. Not what I'm interested in. Is there any journalism-related stuff? Here's an old one.
Hi, I'm David Granger. I'm the editor-in-chief of Esquire Magazine.
Esquire
I'm here
Magazine
to
had a big
introduce
QR
you to
code
the
up front.
augmented reality issue of Esquire. Before I say anything more, let me just kind of show you.
Ah! Booyah! In your face! And bless your soul, welcome to the augmented reality issue of Esquire Magazine. My name is...
That's Robert Downey Jr. There are a variety of experiences you can have that all enabled by this little marker on the front of the magazine. Hold it up again.
Ah!
Tilt it forward.
This is great. It's not journalism, nor is it mobile. What type of AR am I interested in? This guy. Anyone know this? I'm making a lot of 80s references. Sarah he was the governor of my state, you guys. This is the Terminator. 1984. That's the type of AR I want, where it's my real life augmented by digital. Hands-free, POV kind of stuff. Again, you can download this stuff. If you've downloaded the app, we're going to launch with the Republic app. You can do AR right now with your smartphone. And I showed different examples. This is one. Who downloaded the Republic app? All right. Do we have time? We're gonna make time. All right. For those who downloaded the app, I want you to launch it and look for Wynwood Walls, Miami. You're going to launch that app, and then you're going to click on the mural, and I want you to stand here and do it. Sorry, but you're going to do it. You'll thank me for it later. I have a tablet if someone wants to try it out. So if you have the app, launch it, click on Miami. What is happening? Go to the microphone and tell people what's happening. It's behind you. Go ahead and point to the mural and just point at it.
It's bleeding colors out of the mural in 3D.
So paint comes out of the mural into the space, right? Go back, hit the little plus button in the corner to go back to the murals. Try this one out. Is that one on there? Did he take it off? Yeah, it's the top one. Click on that. What's the experience here?
It's like wavy, the stripes at the bottom
We're
of the mural.
actually kind of
are going
underneath
like
it,
this.
but this mural is virtually enhanced out. It comes out. We're underneath it, so if you were to climb on top of a chair, you'd get a different POV. Go ahead and do it. Someone's going to take your picture. It's okay. If you have it, stand up. Check it out. Get closer. Stand on a chair. It's a different point of view. But this is from my colleague, B.C. Bierman. Him and his crew at Republic do AR murals, right? So we looked at other AR clip art, putting on clothing, things like that, beef jerky or whatnot. I'm looking for AR journalism. Is this journalism? No. Is it art? Yeah. All right, I'm moving on to the next mural. Hit the plus sign, and I want you to go back to the home of that app and launch St. Louis. So go back out, launch St. Louis. I might have another, someone wants. I don't have a tablet. Oh, I reset this phone, so. So this was the next iteration from BC. I don't have it on there. Oh, actually, I have it here. Come here. What I want you to do is tap the screen. What each one of you are doing is having a unique experience because the others don't have the same thing that you have. What is happening is that he's taking out the, you know what? I don't think I have it on here. He's taking out different artifacts from the mural and giving you a unique experience. Go ahead and walk inside one of the orbs. You can see each other in there. Go start moving around at different angles. You see it interact, right? It's art. It's telling you a story. Is it journalism? Obviously not, right? So if you stand in the way, you break the marker. So we can of the projector. There you go. Are you in there? So this is in St. Louis. All right, you can go back. One more with those who have the app, and then I'll play a video for those who don't. You'll see what we're talking about. This is currently the largest AR mural he put up at South by Southwest. So go to Austin, click on that mural, and I recommend you see it from the angles. Move around with it. So the previous mural has interactivity. This one here, you can tap the gears, you can tap the TVs. But not only is it interactive, but it's collecting data in real time, metrics. The next step that he and I are going to try to collaborate on is data visualizations of physical spaces. Is that journalism? Data journalism? We're going to augment City Hall using data. That's kind of journalism. Do you guys see that? Do you see the balls come out? It comes into our space. All right. You can have a seat. You can have a seat. I'll play the video for y'all. So these balls come into our physical space. You can interact, but the crazy part is that it's collecting metrics in real time. It's interactive and collecting metrics in real time like a website. So therefore, we can perhaps trigger a custom experience. That's what he's developing and working toward. I have been nerding out about AR because for the last few years, the barrier for entry has lowered and lowered. I'm not a developer. I'm a hackademic. I hack things together. So I wanted to explore whether non-developers can create AR experiences. And I created this class a year ago called AR Journalism. And what we did was augment the downtown LA library. Does anyone live in LA? We're hosting next year, by the way, and I just recruited you to be co-chair. So go to the library and check this out. Here's some video stuff that we did, but we basically augmented the physical space. Myself and 6 other students, none of us developers, except one was a 3D artist, that when you lift your phone and point it to a physical place, it gets augmented. And this is a torch that's in a hallway, beautiful torch, really great architecture. The library is one of the oldest buildings in LA. And when you point at the torch, buttons appear. And through those buttons are navigations to hear an interview and hear some historic footage from an arson fire that changed the story of the library. 1986, an arson burned down the place over love, we found out. A long story, but there's a story in there. And a photo gallery. We had created diverse, different experiences, some for children, some around the art, that if you point the device at one of the sphinxes that is holding Greek, it translates it to English, right? But we also had access to the library's special collections. You should check this out in your library. The collections that they have are ridiculous. One of them was a collection of menus. Turns out this guy, since the 40s, whenever he went out on a date, would steal a menu, write the name of the woman he went on a date with and the date, and he did that for decades. And then he gave it to the library. And so we did a augmented reality piece about it. We tracked the guy down, who's happily married recently. And we called them the Menu Romeo. So we did a profile piece that you trigger through the augmented experience using a menu displayed. But we also found the books. And we augmented books. We made 3D models. This is my favorite. Illustrated copy. Oh, no, we can show it. There it is. Of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. Illustrated. It is gorgeous. Gorgeous. And you don't get to see it. But I did. And so what we wanted to do was to bring these elements out. Is this journalism? Kind of. I'm okay if you say no. It's the first draft of AR journalism. The goal was to figure out, can we make any of these things? And we did. We now have an official app called Archive LAPL. It's only iOS. We're hoping to get it ready for Android early next year. But it's the first draft. We ended up working with, the students created all the experiences from scratch, did it all by hand, and then we worked with a developing firm to make it pretty. They added ghosts and made a gamification, because that's a buzzword. So we added that stuff. So, like I said before, what could AR storytelling do? Well, we all know this, right? Data visualization, the first data viz that helped. We're going to augment City Hall and try to do data viz of public places for civic engagement. That's one of the things we're going to work on next semester. I'm also, like others, nerding out over the Oculus Rift, right? Who tried out the demo? Were your minds blown? Hey, who has 3D artists at their newsroom? You do? Show off. Who can afford 3D artists in your newsroom? Keep your hands down. For the rest of us, we can't do that. Immersive storytelling's been around for some time. Noli de la Pena was last year or the year before, brought Hunger in the Golden State to O&A. Was anyone here for that and tried it out? Full immersion rig took up a whole room. She had to walk behind you holding the cable so you wouldn't trip. But you were at a food line and having an experience there. That's great. That doesn't scale to the journalism that we produce. It's not close to real time. So I'm a journalism school, and while I'm hacking stuff, I'm not a 3D artist. So the only reason why I bought the Oculus Rift is because of this product. This is called Matterport. At an augmented reality conference I went to, they demoed a camera for $4,000. That's twice as much of a car phone in the 80s. Cheap, more expensive than Google Glass. But what they've developed is a point-and-shoot camera that scans the room and in seconds can give you textured, accurate experiences. Let's see if the Wi-Fi works. Did it work? No. Let me go back here. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Oh, wow, it did. See that? So that is 3D locations done by point-and-shoot camera. Fully immersive, 3D, VR, perfect for the Oculus Rift. $4,000. Do you think if this were the future and we had to do Oculus Rift stuff, what would be more affordable? The camera or hiring a team of 3D artists? The answer is the camera. Just so you know, the answer is the camera. So that's the thing I'm trying out. I've been trying to nail down the person so he can come demo it at USC. Once I test it out, I'll let you guys know. But this is where storytelling is changing, right? And another thing is different types of wearables. Did anyone play with the Mayo? I ordered one. It's coming. Okay, we need to nerd out together. Oh, I know who you are. Yes. So the Mayo is gesture controls, right? So everyone makes the reference to Minority Report. But basically, it's a strap that's on your arm, on your forearm, and it knows your muscle movement, and therefore you can do gesture control. Is that going to do journalism? Probably not. All right, I'm going to tell you this one story. I told my wife this story, so it's okay. But in my circle, and you don't have to raise your hand if you're among them, but in my circle, everyone I know is on Tinder or Grindr. Everyone, okay? They tend to be single, the ones who tell me they're on Tinder and Grindr. So I constantly am thinking about what is going to happen? What is influencing our UX and our UI? Everyone is on Tinder or Grindr. What is the UX UI for that? Swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. Oh shit, I should have swiped right. Right? It's the swiping back and forth. That needs to influence how we present our journalism. This might be an interface that we have to engage with. So that's how I'm constantly thinking. What is popular? What is being used? The Yo app, let's judge it for a moment. But is there anything we can do with it, to play with it, to advance our journalism with it? And will it work well with glass? In fact, could I do glass journalism with a Tinder interface? Swipe for stories, swipe for to keep this story. That's actually made for this, right? So that's the stuff that I'm thinking about. But remember, it's all for journalism, right? The SBJ Code of Ethics all applies. Because my motto is we're journalism first, technology second. All this stuff is for journalism. Whether you're Zach Morris or Gordon Gekko, whether we hate you because you have glass or not, we have to remember that this device is evolving and we need to engage with it. This is not the form factor. And of course, with every new device or every new trend, there are going to be haters. Haters going to hate. I wanted to cut it short so we can have questions. So questions. Let's talk. Hate on it. Call bullshit. Come to the microphone.
All right, so I'm going to challenge you on your wearable on the glass. So everybody's got the access to their Bluetooth earpiece, but because of cultural things, we make fun of the people who wear their Bluetooth earpiece. So taking that model, how does that stick to your...
That's the biggest challenge. The interface, outside of it being touch interface, is that you have to talk to yourself. And even when I'm by myself, I talk to myself in my head, not out loud. But I will say that is something... I have theories, but who saw the movie Her? That movie was all believable except for the high-waisted pants. That I don't believe that's going to happen. At least that's my belief. Don't let that happen, you guys. Don't let them win. But that's that new challenge. So my thought is technology is going to solve something, right? So if I say, okay, glass, two things happen. The person next to me is like, what? Or if they had glass, I just triggered something there. So that is a challenge. That's a new type of interface. That's going to happen. But here's a little counter. I saw someone do it earlier. I'm sorry. I don't mean to doubt you. We have said socially that taking photographs with tablets is wrong. There are tumblers dedicated. I'm not judging. But the reality is people take photographs with tablets because it's the device that they have. Is that the final form factor? Is that the final UI, UX? I don't know. I don't care. What I know is this device is going to get more intimate and the screen is going to get smaller and journalism needs to be there. So we have to test with it. That's my point. Yes?
Could you talk a little bit more about the camera that you used as an example for the point and shoot? Like how long would it take you to render a project using that?
I'm trying to detail it. There are different apps that you can use too. I never had great success with it, but 123 Catch, 123D Catch is on iOS for free, and you can do 3D models and then get it 3D printed. I haven't played with it. There are some flaws that I know that it can't do outdoor because the light and the movement of the light. And so it takes a moment to scan. It uses Google's, I was going to say Togo, what is it called? Tango project, which scans the room. So it takes some time. If you notice, there was nobody in there, right, in the 3D things. But we can't hate on technology because it's not perfect. We have a supercomputer on our face. We have a camera for $4,000 that can be 3D artist and recreate this room, right? It's like Louis C.K.'s joke where he was on the Tonight Show or something like that, hating on like, I just sent a text message, went to space and came back down. It was 2 seconds too slow, and we hate about that. So always keep it in context. It's in evolution. It's not perfect. It's in beta, but it is coming. That's the thing. And eventually, there are some folks who have been trying to put 3D cameras in 3D scanning cameras on our phones, and there's a couple successfully Kickstarter-funded products out there. Surface, is that what it's called? Yes, next question.
I have a question. So you know how you always read about how technology is making our attention span shorter and social media is affecting our brains. I'm actually reading a book right now called Smarter Than You Think, which actually says the opposite. It says that technology is actually making humans smarter, and it gives some examples about how humans get better at playing chess with technology. But in that, it sort of mentions people who wear technology, like whether it's a camera or an audio gadget on themselves to sort of life log and document everything that they do.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if with the technology, I'm curious to hear what you think, whether, Google Glass, as it evolves, is that going to sort of embrace more live vlogging and that sort of behavior among journalists? What do you think?
Like everything, we will socially evolve, right? There were cell phones on a plane, and we thought that would be the end of the world with people talking really loud. But now we have our own cell phones. It's just socially evolving. The narrative, and everyone shows that picture about social media. Our phones are making us antisocial, but so were people reading newspapers on a train. Every new piece of technology, people shit on and say it's making us dumber. I wish I remember this article I found, but when the printing press was released and books were being mass-produced, someone made an argument that books were going to make us dumber and knowledge was going to be threatened. Right? So that happens with TV, happens with the radio, which was the devil box, right? Happens with the internet, happens with social media, happens with our phone. The thing with glass, the premise with glass, according to Google, is instead of looking down, you're engaging, right? And it's light micro interactions. And that's actually the challenge for us, micro storytelling. Stuff where we lightly interrupt people with information. I don't know the answer. And truthfully, I don't know if that's going to be the form factor. Maybe we as a society say, no, we're not going to do that. I don't want to talk to myself, and winking to take a picture is really creepy. But I don't know. But I do believe having these devices get smaller, faster, more powerful, aware of its location, always on, more intimate, more on our bodies. We're already accepted that with some of the stuff that we have. I think that's inevitable. So we will then have to socially evolve. Before someone asks that question, it's always the privacy question that I get about glass. And does anyone remember the story when camera phones were added? I think it was in Japan. They were scared about upskirt photos. So they mandated that people put a shutter sound on the camera. There's no shutter on your camera, on your phone. But they put that there to kind of indicate, hey, someone just took a picture of you, right? That problem kind of went away. Creepy people are still creepy. That you can't help. But the device is ubiquitous, and everyone's taking pictures. Yes, sir.
So in that vein about the form factor, all of the technology we're looking at here is very sort of current and practical and existing.
That's what I prefer to live in. But go ahead.
The present? Oh, gosh.
Just off a couple years away. I don't care about my toaster talking to my microwave to tell me all things are great with the New York Times. That has nothing to do with my life, right? That's irrelevant information and R&D for me. But I want stuff that could be mass-produced and reachable by us as journalists without having to be a coder, without having to hire a team of 3D artists to be able to tell stories in new ways.
I guess what I'm interested in is where's the research on the form factor evolving to, biological tools, to contact lenses?
Yeah, I forgot to put that slide about the contact lenses. But raise your hand if you know the contact. Don't make me look it up. I'll put it up there later. I'll update it and tweet the slides out. But Google did create an actual prototype. BC actually played with it. But there is a contact lens that reads your sugar level to let you know if you need to get insulin shot or something. I would recommend that you don't get the first generation contact lens. If it heats up like Google Glass. But there is stuff like that. There's a couple folks who are hacking their bodies with doing NFC chips in their wrists and things like that to unlock cars or their doors. I also would recommend not to do first generation, but it is coming. But I've tried not to go there because the stuff that I look for, the sweet spot for me is attainable for us. I come from the newsroom. I had no support or finances. So I'm looking at things to kind of play with, so when it comes to the masses, we're prepared for it. To inject your body, I'm going to say it's not there for us yet.
So 5 years ago, I was at, I think it was 5 years ago, I was at South by Southwest, and I was struck by how crowds of people were navigating through each other while looking down at their phone. And I just thought, wow, these people are really talented. They're texting and walking, and no one's running into each other, pretty much. There were some unskilled people doing that. I thought, wow, I've never seen this before. This is Manhattan now. That is exactly how it is. At least 50% of the people you're trying to navigate around are looking down at their phone.
And they put on the floor, look up, right?
Yeah.
Across the sideline?
Yeah, they do that. So my question is kind of this. Has there been any sort of large-scale, I don't know, experiment or something with glass? What does it mean to have like more than 50% of the people walking forward, looking, not down at their phones, but looking and not quite paying attention? This whole sort of attention distraction thing in a crowd. Has there been anything like that? And do we know what that's
you
gonna
tried
happen?
glass? Are you talking about? Do you think glass is going to be more dangerous than a phone?
I don't know.
Have you tried glass?
Yeah.
Okay.
So once I'm trying glass, I am not paying attention to my surroundings. It is almost as if I'm
so
looking
it
at my
takes a
phone.
learning curve, right? And it takes a learning curve to do a couple things. To be okay to talk to yourself, and you can mutter. I muttered. You guys didn't notice I took a picture a few times and added a caption and stuff like that. But it's actually meant for you to look here. You're not looking at the screen. You're not looking at the screen. That's not the point. You look at that screen when you need a micro interaction, right? So some of the apps that are on glass right now, especially from media companies, are horrible because they're just shovelware trying to dominate your time. So it's micro interactions. I drove with glass. Driving with glass is so good, you guys. One, I have a shitty sense of direction. But two, it's amazing. It's off in the corner and better than on my dashboard or on hiding from the cop, right? And I got a ticket in San Diego. I'm fighting that ticket. Courts have ruled that GPS apps count as maps. Cop didn't believe me, so I'm fighting him. But it's better. It actually, when you lock in, you can't just try it out and go like, I'm ready. No, it takes, I would say, 48 hours. And you have to fully give into it. And that's also really difficult. To totally get glass, you have to be in the Android world, embrace Google Now. It just helps you out in really fantastic ways. But battery life sucks, and it heats up, and you stand out, and people think you're douchey. So socially, that's why I don't wear it. But it's actually better. I was in Manhattan going to meet someone having a horrible sense of direction, so I had glass. And I was walking through the folks, and I tweeted out a picture. I could look for it. I looked down, and it said, look, and I took a picture with glass and tweeted it out and kept on walking. So it's better. Are there studies? I don't know. Yes, there are. Last question.
Quick question. So are there media companies that you know of who are already starting to develop ways to deliver news through the micro screen of Google Glass or for wearables? And
Yes.
have any been successful?
No. No, but I don't blame them, right? We have limited resources, so they can't. Why would they invest R&D on a platform that may or may not stick, and only a handful of, not a handful, the vast majority of people don't have it, and we're not even sure if and when they're ever going to go release this version. So they've done some shovelware. The Guardian has a nice one, but it's very much headline. And it just tells you, actually The Guardian, is anyone from The Guardian here? What they do is they put a headline in the title card. So, boy dies, tell me more. Then it gives you 25 more words, and it still does not enough to give you a lead. So, boy dies, I don't know what the hell that's about, right? It's like newspaper headlines in a title card, so you don't get the information. CNN is okay. I mean, you're just watching video. New York Times has that one, but those are shovelware. So I don't blame news orgs for not investing R&D on that, and that's why I'm doing it. I get the privilege to do that. So whatever I develop, I'm going to give that away. So if you want that information, go to glassjournalism.io. That is our public website. And the other is my Twitter handle, @glassjournalism. I also do @ARjournalism. If you want to look at my AR stuff and experience the augmented reality for the library, go to arjournalism.tumblr.com. So not as many people are experimenting. There are some apps that are kind of funky. It's really early on, and I think it's an incredible opportunity for us to jump ahead. Brand new landscape. Let's own it. Thank you, guys.